Hi there, I'm Jennie with Infinity Real Estate, and today I'm going to take you on a tour of Gig Harbor's three main commerce areas. We're going to visit the historic downtown, Uptown Gig Harbor, and Gig Harbor North. Are you ready? Let's go. Let's go ahead and start with the historic downtown, because I think when anyone thinks of Gig Harbor or somebody's visiting, they tend to see pictures of downtown Gig Harbor, whether they be in calendars or postcards or whatnot. And certainly there is commerce in Gig Harbor that's very reflective of it being the historic area. Downtown Gig Harbor is definitely famous for being walkable. People talk about walking the harbor all the time. And if you start at the north end of the harbor, which is where we're heading now, and you go to the south end near the Tides Tavern and back, it is a 5K. So very popular for people to want to meet, take a walk downtown. You'll see families taking walks together all the time. It's something really cool about this historic downtown area. When people are visiting Gig Harbor, they sometimes miss this north end of the harbor, because as you'll see when you come off Highway 16 and you come down into the south side of town, it feels like that heart of downtown, and they think, oh, well, this is it. But then you have to travel around the rest of the harbor to hit all of these really cool places. This is a famous, we call it famous clock tower, but it's also that postcard or calendar view of Gig Harbor that you'll often see on a nicer day. Believe it or not, Mount Rainier in all of its glory is right back there, and it's such a pretty shot with all of the boats throughout the harbor. There's always stuff going on in the harbor too. All of Gig Harbor is full of parks. In fact, we could definitely do another whole tour just on parks throughout the Gig Harbor area. But this one is called Donkey Creek, aptly named because Donkey Creek goes through it, but it was the site of the former Borgen family hardware store, and they donated the land to the city at one point in time, and it became a park. And so when we go up to Gig Harbor North and you see Borgen Boulevard, you will know that it was because of this great family. So here on the corner, we have the Gig Harbor History Museum. And for such a small town to have a really high-class museum is pretty rare, and tells you just a little bit about our sense of community and the rich history that we have here in Gig Harbor. Gig Harbor's heritage is defined by its history as a shipbuilding village as well as a fishing village. In fact, we have a commercial fishing fleet that is still operational today. But part of our rich history is the Shenandoah, which is one of the first boats that were built at the Scansey Boatyard in downtown Gig Harbor. Today, it's a community restoration project that is part of the Harbor History Museum. On that note, let's go check out more of downtown. So in terms of commerce, again, kind of going back to the original thing we were chatting about with everything being a little more on the touristy side or the more historic side, you're not going to have your big box commerce downtown at all. You're going to have shops, restaurants, as well as, again, parks, including our famous Scansey Park that is coming up here in just a moment. Here at Scansey Brothers Park in the heart of downtown Gig Harbor, there are community events going on almost all the time. Today happens to be a very quiet day when there isn't a whole lot going on, but that's not very frequent. On any given day, you might find the farmers markets every Thursday throughout the summer. We have concerts in the park every Tuesday. This place is absolutely packed with people and lawn chairs, and the people go out in their boats and they listen to the concerts. It's an absolute party in the park every week. And on holidays, we've got tree lighting ceremonies. On Halloween, they block off this entire downtown area and have a huge free party for all of the kids in town. As we travel through the south part of the downtown area, this is definitely the place that just about everybody comes when they visit Gig Harbor and they think of visiting Gig Harbor. Here at these four corners, you have the now becoming famous Heritage Distillery. And then right around the corner is the Tides Tavern that just about everybody who knows of Gig Harbor will tell you they've either been to the Tides, or if you're going to visit, you probably need to go. I mentioned that the Heritage Distillery is becoming famous, but it would not be fair if I didn't also talk about Gig Harbor's own Seven Seas Brewery, which is rapidly becoming very famous. And they are in the process of building a whole new brewery and tap room home for themselves here on the waterfront. So finishing our tour of downtown and the commerce areas, we are at the mouth of the harbor, which is on the far south side of town. This park is also the site of the original ferry landing here in Gig Harbor, which prior to the Tacoma Narrows Bridge being built was the only way to get to this idyllic downtown. Now let's go check out Uptown. As we leave downtown on the south side of town and cross over Highway 16, we're entering Uptown. So the question I get all the time, well, why is it called Uptown if it is south of downtown? There are 5 hills that actually go into Gig Harbor proper. And so in order to get out of downtown Gig Harbor, you have to go up a hill, and therefore this section of town is Uptown. So Uptown Gig Harbor is one of the main commerce areas of Gig Harbor. It is the largest, in my opinion, and it has the most to offer in terms of a variety of different things. If you want your choice of grocery stores, for example, there are 3 grocery stores right here in Uptown. It's also a mixture of older and newer, which is very much in contrast to both the downtown Gig Harbor and what we're going to see when we go to the north end here in a few minutes. We are currently in Cutter's Point, which is a local Gig Harbor coffee shop, and we are in what's called the Uptown Village. So this area reminds me of something you might see in a suburban village. It's very walkable. We've got boutique shops, boutique restaurants, and then, of course, our great Galaxy theaters. When I think of Uptown, once in a while, I think of it being, a place that has a little bit of ADD. It doesn't appear to have been incredibly well planned, because you have a mixture of this older section that was built in the 1980s. You have the village that was built in the 2000s. And then we have even a brand new section that includes Oceans 5, the Family Fun Center, and yet one more grocery store, all being brand new within the last few years. That being said, it really does have something for everyone in terms of shops, restaurants, and of course, grocery. So for people who live closer to this end of town, it's definitely a destination area. We're going to contrast Uptown and its architecture and maybe a little bit of lack of planning with Gig Harbor North, which is a completely master planned community, and it's going to be very obvious as soon as you see it. Driving into Gig Harbor North, the first thing you will notice being very different from everywhere else in town are the roundabouts. Gig Harbor North is famous for roundabouts. It was where the first roundabouts in Gig Harbor ended up. Now you will see them in other areas of town. People have a love-hate relationship with them. I'll just leave it there. What you see in Gig Harbor North is a total contrast from everywhere else in Gig Harbor, because this was an entirely master planned community that started being built in the early 2000s. Now, as we're driving through and all of the landscaping and everything has matured, you can barely tell that we are right in the middle of what I call the box store section of town. We've just passed Home Depot. There is a Target over here in the corner. There's a grocery store. And Costco is going to be right up here on our right, and you can't even see it from the road. So it you know, you feel like you're still here in the woods, but you're right in the middle of all of this commerce and all of the box stores. Surrounded beyond the commerce are some of these newer housing communities. And what makes this area very attractive is because it's a master planned area, you've got wide sidewalks, you've got bike lanes, you've got easy access and walkability to all of the shopping as well as the parks. So over the years, going from the historic downtown and the commerce there to Uptown, which is a mix of old and newer, to this master planned Gig Harbor North, we really do have a completely self-contained city at this point in time. It's not necessarily in terms of commerce, it's definitely not that small town that people think they are getting when they might see that really cute postcard picture of Gig Harbor. Once you get here, there's no need to leave. You don't have to go across the Tacoma Narrows Bridge anymore for anything. And then, of course, thanks to Amazon, you can always get what you need right at home. When you have a master plan community like this, they make sure to think of everything. So future expansion in Gig Harbor North is going to include some really amazing sporting facilities that are being built soon. There's a new elementary school walkable to the neighborhoods that was recently built. And then one of our most important community amenities is the Tom Taylor Family YMCA. Almost everyone who comes to town, it's one of the first places you want to check out. They have more opportunities for people of all ages than you can possibly imagine. Joining the Y was one of the first things I did when I moved to Gig Harbor because it's such a great way to integrate into the community and to meet new people. The programs that they offer here, the depth and breadth of programs never ceases to amaze me. Everything from cooking classes to yoga classes to swimming lessons and everything in between for all ages. There really is something for everyone. It's also extremely affordable, and therefore I consider this Y as one of Gig Harbor's best amenities. A very important part of Gig Harbor North is the St. Anthony Hospital Complex. St. Anthony's is a level 3 trauma center with full emergency facilities, full operating facilities, and honestly, if you have to stay here and you have to stay in the hospital, it's more like staying in a hotel than a hospital. I hesitate to say I can highly recommend it because you never want to be in the hospital, but if you do have to be somewhere, this isn't a bad place to be. With just about everything you would need in terms of medical here in Gig Harbor, the reality is sometimes there's a need for a different type of trauma center. For example, so in Tacoma, there is a level 2 trauma center, Seattle is level 1, and there is Mary Bridge Children's Hospital just right across the bridge in Tacoma, and Seattle Children's less than an hour away. I think that's a wrap for today. Thanks for joining me on this little tour of Gig Harbor's commerce areas. If you have any questions, you can comment below or you can give me a call. I hope you'll join me for my other videos in the future.